What do you make of the sign? It's an interesting sign. It's £16 million. It looks like a gamble. Liverpool's players, the manager, Brendan Rodgers, talking very enthusiastically about his arrival from Milan. But we know his history at Manchester City. How do you feel about it?
Well, pardon me for saying here's one I prepared earlier, but there could be fireworks, you know. I don't know. Brendan Rodgers has, for want of a better word, rehabilitated or settled players like Daniel Sturridge, whose career pinged around a little bit, and Raheem Sterling, who he famously had to give a schoolmasterly telling off to on that American TV documentary. So he seems better equipped than most to deal with this fella. Suarez was another matter beyond his control and happened at the World Cup anyway, well beyond Liverpool's control. So, there's that element to it. There's also the element that at 16 million, he's a bargain in modern terms, you know, and we often see now players, they're sort of judging, you see, read these little things with, he cost them 2.5 million a goal for what he did over his time. So, you know, that's the sort of stakes that it's played for now. So if he scores 10 goals in the modern game, he's getting close to repaying something. I wonder also if Liverpool play sort of this lovely exuberant football, and he might tune into that as well, you know. That's all the good points, I guess. On the other side, he's different. Most of the comments from people who played with him, who've been with him, what they say at City is that it's not nastiness or anything like that. He's just a bit childlike, if for want of a better word, you know. So a one-off, you know, daft as a brush, as Bobby Robson famously said about Gaza. And there seems to be an element of that to it. I do think that the way Liverpool play might tune into something with him, and he'll want to be a part of it.
I think he'll have an impact, that's for sure, and you know, a positive one in terms of goals. But it's at what cost, isn't it? I remember a couple of years ago, you know, Fabio Capello was asked about Balotelli, and he answered, "Great player, but you can't manage him." And he said, "No manager in the world will ever be able to manage Mario Balotelli," and he likened him to Antonio Cassano, who's got a similar character.
Yeah, I would point out Capello's approach to man management seems to be very different from Brendan Rodgers, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But there's going to come a point where clearly, you know, Milan have felt that he's just not worth it. And then he's going to go to Liverpool. So he will score goals because he's a great player. But Brendan Rodgers, this is the biggest test of his, you know, managerial...
Sport's about risk, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. And this is a massive risk, and it's at what cost to the rest of the squad in terms of his behaviour. Even if, you know, as John says, it might not be a bad lad, but I'd love to be proved wrong, but I think it'll end in tears again.
What do you make of some of the opportunism? Yesterday in London, Ollie, there's an enormous digital banner on one of the flyovers but with his boot sponsor or whoever, and a huge word next to him, rule breaker, with a picture of Balotelli, which is the equivalent of welcome to Manchester for Carlos Tevez, isn't it, when Manchester City signed him from United. Do these kind of things help someone who's clearly has been troubled at times?
No, I mean, I don't like that. I don't like that kind of opportunism when you talk it from advertising. One of the things that I don't like about it is that when they actually do something wrong, which they're kind of tempting fate, they run a mile then, the advertisers, like in the World Cup. Adidas, I think it was, had a big picture of Suarez. We probably saw it yourself on the Copacabana front with the sort of with his teeth bared. As soon as he bites Chiellini, that ad comes straight down. Yep. But yet that's what they'd wanted to promote, that image. As soon as he lives up to the image, they don't like it. So
also,
you can't have it both ways.
They're capitalising on controversy, and then the people around these players, the advertisers themselves, are the first to complain that the media are focusing. Why always me? If you like, you know, I mean, you know, they're encouraged. It happened with Rooney to a certain extent, didn't it? You know, the image that was portrayed of him in marketing-wise was of an edgy street footballer, And then he, you know, when he's been an edgy street footballer, there's been complaints about the way it's covered.
Exactly.
So, you know,
absolutely.
It's interesting that Rodgers, this contract, he was on 160,000 at City, the same in Italy, and now it's sort of 85,000 a week with a clause where if he behaves properly, and that just means turning up on time for training, he gets a $2 million bonus, so it's a £40,000 a week for just behaving like every other footballer.
You amazed he agreed to that, given that the salary that he was on at Milan, he could have just sat on that and said, OK, well, I'm happy here, thanks very much.
But he clearly wants to play, and I think it was made clear to him that may have not been the case there. Ultimately, you know, most footballers, not all, but most, want to play football, don't they? So I think if that was put on the line, and, you know, let's be honest, you know, Liverpool, you know, one of the biggest clubs in the world, so I think that attraction was there. Had it been maybe you know, another club in the Premier League for £85,000 a week, but it's a fantastic opportunity for him, and he's lucky to have this chance again to go to the top club.
It's an exciting signing for Liverpool as well. You know, OK, it is fraught with problems potentially, but I think Rodgers is a very good man manager, and also this is a slightly wider point. But I think when you lose a player like Suarez, he's not just a loss in terms of his talent; he's a loss in terms of the presence and the charisma. And I think that Balotelli will replace some of that. And I think he is an extremely talented player. You know, you look at the player that we saw Euro 2012 in particular, I think, when made some of his best games for Italy. You know, he's a terrific talent if they can get the best out of him.
OK, so
Liverpool had a clear philosophy last season, you know, under Brendan, about we're going to have a go at this. We're going to play exciting, attacking football. It involves an element of risk. Sport is about risk, you know, and you have to take them. I guess you could maybe not quite to the extremes. Harry Redknapp taking Paolo Di Canio to West Ham, which everyone said you must be nuts, and things happened, but you'd argue it was a success. And as a player, he remains very popular there to this day.
Well, Dalglish said in the Mirror yesterday, every signing constitutes a risk. You know, it's just.
But Dalglish likes to look at him, doesn't he?
What?
Dalglish likes to look at him. He thinks it's going to be. He thinks it'll be a good signing. OK, this is a big game for Liverpool and Manchester City tomorrow night. Pellegrini says he wants more credit for City's class, not their cash. Just interesting, Jason Burt in the Sunday Telegraph this morning, the biggest net spenders in the Premier League this season. Manchester United 73.5 million, Arsenal 55 million, Liverpool 40, Everton 35. Because of the signing of Lukaku. Manchester City, £31.8 million. They're the fifth biggest net spenders.
Yeah, but that's relative, isn't it? And if you looked at the previous couple of years, where they've spent big. So, you know, City have had to rein it in a bit with, you know, fair play, but it's still a fantastic squad, isn't it? And even the players they have brought in, like Fernando, look great and will be good Premier League players. So I think Pellegrini, I think City will be stronger this year. You know, I think they won the Premier League last season, a mix of just getting over the line. I thought Mourinho sort of talked his team out of it. I thought some of his man management was strange. So, but City won the title. But I think that, you know, they will definitely be a better, stronger team this season.
They're only among the smaller net spenders this summer because of all the money they've spent in the past. The thing about City is it's such an... All right, so it's a few years back now, but it's such an extraordinary story. I've been getting lots of debates with fans about this. Why do you always concentrate on the money with City? Well, I don't always concentrate on the money, but it is an issue there more than elsewhere because of the extraordinary circumstances. They were plucked from being one kind of club to being another, more or less overnight. And that's why they are where they are now. And it's only 5 or 6 years ago. So the money element remains a part of the debate about them. It's unavoidable.
And Blackburn didn't win the title because of their youth policy, did they? You know, all those years ago, they won the title because they had a lot of money. But
going back to Pellegrini's point, it is a fair point. If you look, I think if United spend 50 million or 60 million on Di Maria, I think they will have spent 190 million over the past 3 windows or 2 windows. You know, money. The signings have to be well managed as well. You can't just throw money at it. As I say, you look at Mata, it was 37 million. It's not worked so far. No, it hasn't worked so far. You don't think it's time to bring the kids through at Manchester City just yet then, John?
They can buy some, I guess.
OK, that's all we've got time for today. Thanks very much, guys. My thanks to Ollie, to John and to Charlie. Special thanks to you for watching and for tweeting. Don't